Welcome to the American Nomad Podcast, hosted by the legend himself, or as I refer to him, the legend in his own mind, Rav Holly.
What is up, everybody? Welcome, beautiful people, to the Friday 13th edition of the American Nomad Podcast. I am the American Nomad, Rav Holly. Thanks for joining me today. Looks like we got 5 people in the room. Joel P., what's up, brother? Anyway, I'm sure you guys, along with myself, are still glued to how this election is going and what's being done and what's being said in the media and everything else. So I looked into this the other day and read into it, but I decided I would go ahead and kind of feature it as a topic today on the show. And the topic is what happens. This is going to be one of the most searched questions in a few days. What happens if Donald Trump does not concede the election? I know the legalities of it. I just listened to an attorney explaining it. The guy that cries on CNN, the black guy that's the little bitch on CNN that cries about his son, and it's a new day and it's a new dawn. He talked about it the other day, and he's actually right if you saw that. I can't even remember the guy's name and don't care. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into this show, shall we? Don't forget to subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to like the broadcast. If you like it, hit that like button. It'll help us out in the YouTube algorithm. Welcome to the live YouTube broadcast of the American Nomad. If you're joining us from one of the podcast apps, the Apple or the Google or Spotify, welcome just to the audio version. Appreciate you joining the rebroadcast and downloading the rebroadcast of the American Nomad Podcast. Matilda, look at all the people in the room already. We got Matilda, we got Joel P. How's the sound, guys? I think I'm doing pretty good on sound, it looks like. We got Joel P. We got Terralinga Trash Riot. That's an amazing name, Terralinga. Matilda, what's up, girl? Love you. Good to see you. Ambo Live, my favorite liberals. See, I can't hate all liberals because I love those guys. They hate Trump, but that's okay with me. Hopefully the FBI will drag Trump out of the White House. Oh, you're going to be so disappointed. Or the SWAT team. Hey, it has already been determined there is no voter fraud. That's actually not true, but if that's your story, stick with it. So, yeah, Joel P. Good, I got a 10 PC. I don't know what that means. Tara Link, you can't wait for Donald. You're with Ambo Life. You can't wait for Donald Trump to be dragged out of the White House by the FBI. That's hilarious. Hey, it might happen because he is a big child, so he may go kicking and screaming. But for you guys that lean left that are listening to the show, I do want to talk to you about the legalities of what actually happens. And this, you can verify this information. Now, I am not an attorney. I am not a political attorney or anything like that. So all I'm doing is giving you what I heard from a political attorney. So please research this for yourself. That's my disclaimer. But I did make a whole list of show notes. What happens if Donald Trump decides not to concede the election? So we'll start going through it here. And this has actually happened 2 other times in history. It happened in 1800, and then it happened again in 1824. So this has actually happened twice that a president hasn't conceded the election. So as you all probably know, if you keep up with elections or if you've been around presidential elections, if you've lived through them before, usually there's a declared winner. And once that declared, they look at the results and they see who's projected to get to 270 votes. And then the media will proclaim that person is going to be the actual winner. As long as there's no voter fraud or there's no irregularities, can't talk. That person, and then so that president will actually concede. He will give it a concession speech and concede that he lost. And it happens. So even if it's not the president, so let's say Trump, Hillary Clinton did it. The one person or the other has to concede. The loser has to concede. The projected loser has to concede. If there's nothing that looks out of the ordinary in the vote. So if you remember, Hillary Clinton had to concede. She kind of threw a fit and didn't do it the first night. She waited till the next morning, but then she conceded. So the president, but that is not in the Constitution. It's just a formality, but that's not the law. I've heard people saying that is the law. I've heard my people on the right that lean right saying that that's the law. That is not the law. President does not, there is nothing in the Constitution that says a president has to concede in concession speech. That's not the law. That's not in the Constitution. It's just a formality that all presidents do it, or all losing candidates do it. And in the case of Trump, there is a lot of questions about this election, which we all know, which the media are keeping suppressed. So that makes it even more suspect, because if there's nothing to hide, then we don't mind recounting. We don't mind, let's take Arizona, for instance. Arizona right now is still counting, and the vote is within 10,000. It shows Biden leading Trump 10,000 votes. That's not very many votes, especially when you take into consideration that up in Michigan, one county did count 6,000 votes for Biden that were Trump's votes. They turned Biden votes into Trump votes into Biden votes. And then when it was discovered, they did a hand count and saw that those 6,000 votes that had been original Trump votes were turned to Biden, and then they turned them back over to Trump. So we cannot say that there hasn't been any, finagling going on, because that proves right there that there has. 6,000 votes in one county, that's a lot, especially when considering Arizona is only 10,000 votes difference. So if there's two counties in one state that this has happened to, that could be over 10,000 votes, and that could swing a state. So yeah, so we do have to look and make sure that there's there's no voter fraud, and there's been tons of voter fraud. There's a guy that was on Snapchat that took 80 Trump ballots, put them in a bag, and burned them on Snapchat. He showed them all. He goes, Trump, 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 got to do what you got to do, what you got to do, and then he lit them and burned them. It's on his Snapchat. He's being investigated by the FBI. It's only 80 votes, but if so many people done that, that's a lot. That could turn into a whole hell of a lot of votes. But anyway, let's get into the legalities of what happens. So if Trump doesn't concede, then it will go to the electors, or the electors have to certify the vote. And then once the electors certify, then there can be a nominee can ask for a recount, which that's already happening in Georgia. Georgia's already being recounted because there was some irregularities. I can't talk. So Georgia is already being hand recounted, or already being not hand recounted. They're already being recounted now, but they're not doing a complete recount. They're doing some kind of test recount that I listened to the guy talk about how they're doing it. They're taking so many counties and recounting it and seeing how that adds up. But Georgia's already having a recount. We'll probably see several different other states recounting. But then you have, so anyway, once the recount is done, then it goes to the electorates, and then they will certify the recount. They'll certify it. And then if Trump still doesn't concede, Amendment 12 to the Constitution, Amendment 12 to the Constitution will push this to the House of Representatives, where there are 475 representatives in the House of Representatives, right? But the deal is they don't each get a vote. So anyway, if the election actually ends up in the House of Representatives to be voted on in the House, then that takes the election, the voting election becomes null and void, just like it never happened. So the entire election gets turned over to the House of Representatives, and then it's in their hands. So there's no more worried about voter fraud. There's no more worried about what, if ballots were, illegally cast or if dead people, that's done. And this is the reason that there was an Amendment 12, because our forefathers foresaw this was a possibility that somebody could try to finagle election and screw with an election. And if there was enough evidence of that happening, then that election could be determined just tainted and null and void. And so then it'll go to the House because the election results is just too far gone. So then it's turned over to the House where the voting election is just null and void. 475 representatives in the House. So this is where, my friends on the left go, yeah, because we got the majority of the House. Yeah, Biden, Biden, Biden. Not so fast, because each representative or each state in the House of Representatives gets, count them, one vote. One vote. Did you hear me? One vote. How many states are there in the United States? Anybody? All right, 50 states. Out of those 50 states, how many of those states are red states? Drum roll, please. 37. Each state will get one vote. 37 states are red states out of the 50. So that means Democrats and Biden are probably screwed unless they can flip a lot of red representatives to vote blue for Biden. And I don't see that happening. But maybe, stranger things have happened. But that's the legalities of it, and that is why Trump is not conceding. You don't think Trump doesn't know this? Read The Art of the Deal. Read The Art of War, which is Trump's favorite book. He's always 2 steps ahead of everybody. He knew this. That's why he was talking about months ago that there was probably going to be voter fraud, and we all knew there was going to be voter fraud with all these mail-in ballots. So this was all the way it was going to go, because the left would not shut up about the mail-in ballots. They had to have their mail-in ballots. Your mail-in ballots, congratulations, you got your mail-in ballots. You tainted this election with all your mail-in ballots. Oh yeah, you couldn't. There's a pandemic. I had somebody give me that. Well, this is all because of the pandemic. Okay, yeah, the pandemic. You guys couldn't get out and vote, but you damn sure can go to Walmart or Whole Foods, and you damn sure can get out in the street and proclaim your victory once you think your candidate's won when he really hasn't. So anyway, that's why the leftist media is so hard trying to paint Trump that he won't concede, because they want him to concede so bad, because the media knows this as well. But the problem is the majority of the American public does not know how this works. If you look at leftists, like any person that's in the room that's a leftist, they've already proclaimed their dude Biden. They've already proclaimed that he's won. They just don't get it. They don't understand. Back in 2000, look this up. It's documented history. Back in 2000, Al Gore thought he was president of the United States for 37 days until the recount happened, and then it was certified in court that he was the loser. And as we all know, George Bush Jr. became president. Funny thing is, I was rooting for Al Gore. I didn't care too much for George Bush Jr. But anyway, that's the way it goes, and that's the legality of it. So Trump, there's a reason the dude's name is Trump, because he's always got a Trump card. He's always got the Trump card in the end. So all he has to do is wait this thing out. He doesn't have to concede. And if you you can go on Google, on YouTube right now, which are on YouTube, but as soon as this broadcast is over, and search for Hillary Clinton tells Biden not to concede. Hillary Clinton went on like a month or 2 ago. I'm not sure when it was, but she went on. There's video of her telling Joe Biden under no circumstances should he concede. He should not concede. Even if he's the loser and if it looks like he's lost, do not concede. She adamantly tells him to do that. Joe should not concede under any circumstances. Okay, well, that works for Trump too, guys. And he doesn't have to concede. And we're going to go the health. This count really doesn't matter now because there's been blatant election fraud. We know it. Everybody knows it. Dems know it. They just don't want to admit it because that's the card they played. And in the end, unless Trump just gets tired of fighting the battle and just decides to concede, the left is pretty much screwed. Because any way you look at this, Trump is going to come out on top if it goes to the House of Representatives. The only way that the left wins this is if Trump decides to concede. And right now, it doesn't look like he's going to do it. It took more than 30 days for Gore to concede. Yeah, and that's where we're at right now. So, yeah, don't get your hopes up that Trump's going to concede because I don't really see it happening. He might do it. He might do it. I mean, but I just don't see it. I don't see him doing it. He knows this, you know what I mean? And the media knows this. This is why the media is so gung-ho and so pushing their narrative that Trump has got to concede. He's got to concede. He doesn't have to concede. And they know they're screwed. And they know they're screwed. But they're bullying this up because that's why they announced the election so fast. They announced Arizona before Texas and Florida were even through counting. They had already announced Arizona as being done, and Arizona's still counting. Texas and Florida are through. Arizona's still counting, but they declared Arizona within like 2 or 3 hours. They had declared Arizona. Arizona's still counting today. Texas and Florida both through. But if you go back to election night and look at when they called Arizona. I mean, it was immediately almost when Arizona was not even close to being done. So that right there is you're like, what? Arizona was red last time. Like, what's going on here? There's some shenanigans going on. Like, how could they call Arizona this quick? And most people don't keep up with the election enough to actually understand that and I saw that right away. And then if you kept up with it at the end, when all of the Democrats had supposedly told everybody to stop counting, no more counting, everybody had put a hold on counting. And then all of a sudden, Trump is up by like 52 to 43 on Biden. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, all of a sudden Biden is ahead when they were supposed to have stopped counting. When they'd called the polls, everybody had stopped counting. Like, what's going on there? So anyway, for my good leftist friends in the room, if you think I'm being dishonest with you, go look up that information for me. Get back to me. Let me know what you find out. Let's see who we got in the room. I imagine Ambo Life and Tiralinga, and I imagine they bailed. They're probably out there Googling their little fingers away right now. Ambo Life says, just listen to an interesting podcast saying that what DJT is doing is compromising our national security. Oh, yeah, they're going to say, your leftist media is going to say anything that they want to say. You know what I mean? But this has happened twice already. It's not a first time. This is a third time. Third time's a charm. So Ambo Life, let me tell you something. You know what compromised our national security? All of these goddamn mail-in votes to begin with, because there's been articles written by the leftist media before Donald Trump was president talking about how fraudulent and how easy it was to manipulate mail-in voting. Get out there on Google. You can find those articles. I'm not going to find them for you, but they're out there. And these voting machines and this voting software that was supposedly that flipped all these votes up in Michigan, Dominion, I believe is the name of the software. Texas was supposed to start using this software as well, and the state attorney general or someone, don't hold me to who the title was, but anyway, the state of Texas in court looked at this software and rejected it because it was so easily manipulated, and it wasn't security. It wasn't near enough security proof to be used in the state of Texas for their elections. But then you have all these other states, these other smaller states that are using it, and we know for a fact that 6,000 votes up in Michigan that were Donald Trump votes got switched to Biden votes. How did that happen? They're keeping it under wraps, but how did it happen? Let's see. Dude, this is Christy Full. I'm excited to see him drug out because it'll light up the conservatives like we've never seen before. Oh, my gosh. You're on a different, Christy, you are on a different freaking, you're on a different YouTube channel. Sorry about that, girl. I didn't recognize you. You threw me a curveball there. Yeah, that's very true. So anyway, my beautiful friend Christy Otts, I love you. She's Terralinga Trash Riot. That's hilarious. I love that name. Terralingu. How is that supposed to be pronounced? I can't read. I only got a 5th grade education. Anyway, it's gonna be funny. But anyway, so here's another. I just read this right before. I was like trying to cram all this information into my head right before the podcast started because I wanted to be able to talk about this stuff. But so now what's going on in the media is they're actually starting to figure out and starting to look at like what's going on. And even if they do proclaim, or if let's say Trump decides to concede and they proclaim Joe Biden the winner, Joe Biden himself is terrified that millions of Trump supporters are going to show up on his inauguration day, and who knows what's going to happen there. But he's scared of it. They said he's actually scared. He's scared of it, and I think that is so golden. I mean, the Trump supporters just hit Washington right now. They're there for the Mega Million March. They just hit Washington, D.C. today, and the Mega Million March goes on today and goes on tomorrow. But you won't see anything about it probably in the left-hand media because, they're not talking about it. But that's even better because if all of these same people plus another million or two show up on Inauguration Day and it's Joe Biden being sworn in, all hell's going to break loose. BBC just reported that Biden got Georgia. Yeah, that's not true, Ambo Life, because Georgia's doing a recount, unless I've missed something. I don't know how they recounted that fast. And the BBC is a British broadcasting company from Britain, so I don't know why you would rely on the BBC reporting on exactly what's going on with the American election. Could be accurate. I have not been able to see that. I haven't been able to certify it. So you could be correct. I'm just saying sounds a little suspect to me. But I will say I will say for all of my good Trump supporters in the room that it's not looking good for Trump. I'm not trying to sit there and say that Trump's got this in the bag, because it's not. He's fighting an uphill battle, a big uphill battle. I just think it's funny because I was watching the Timcast live stream yesterday, and he had Alex Jones on his live broadcast, and it's funny because Tim was talking about when he was in New York City on Wall Street for Occupy Wall Street back in like 2008. And he said it's so funny because all of these same people, because they were protesting Obama and they were protesting Biden, who was the vice president, and Obama bailing out all of the banking system. That's what Occupy Wall Street was about. Remember that, guys? Remember that? Trump wasn't president during Occupy Wall Street. Obama was. Just like Ferguson, all of this BLM that everybody's blaming Trump for the BLM, and Trump, caused all this, divisiveness and the BLM. No. Let's back up a minute. The BLM started in Ferguson with the Mike Brown thing. Guess who was president then? Obama. You're black Jesus. Obama. He was president, just like he was during the Occupy Wall Street thing. And all of those people that were protesting the status quo of Obama and Biden, all of those people that were living in tents out there at Wall Street during Occupy Wall Street, you motherfuckers are all the same fuckers that just voted for Biden. All of you. You just voted for the status quo. And it's funny because you hate Trump, and Trump is not the status quo. Trump's only been in politics for 3 3/4 of a year. You were voted because you hated all of these career politicians. And then you get a president that's not a career politician, but he says stuff that hurts your feelings, and you can't handle it. You turn on him. You turn on a guy who's against globalization, who's against war. He's the first president in my lifetime that I can remember who wasn't pushing war, who was trying to bring our troops home. Ambo Life says the Occupy movement was a joke. Obama started the race issues. Of course Obama started the race issues. But leftists don't see that because Obama's their black Jesus. There's a Guardian. I talked about this on one of the last podcasts. There's a Guardian article when Trump first got in office and Obama was leaving. The Guardian, which is as left as you can get, and I think the Guardian's British, right? I think it's a European rag, but it's as far progressive leftist as you can get. And they literally did their headline. You can go Google search this. It's out there right now. You can go Google search a Guardian article, and the title is "What a Bloody End to the Obama Regime." What a bloody end. And then you read the article, and it goes in and tells you how Obama was dropping he was dropping around 22,000 bombs a day the last year of his entire presidency. And he caused a complete refugee crisis in Syria. He bombed Syria into oblivion. He killed probably millions of people, and you guys don't even care. You Democrats you liberals don't even care that Obama was bombing, kids and little, but then you were all about, the Syrian refugees. We got to help them. We got to let them come to America. France has got to let them in. Everybody's got to let them in. Everybody's got to let them in, because we were bombing them and they were fleeing for their lives because we were bombing the piss out of them. But then when Trump gets in office, just miraculously, they stop running from Syria. They're returning home to Syria. Syria is still a battle-torn nation. It's not saying it's not, but when you don't have us dropping, you don't have Obama dropping 22,000 bombs on your head every day. These other countries don't have that many bombs. If you have 10 going off, it's okay. You got 10 going off maybe every, 2-3 months. Yeah, you can live with that. When you got 10 going off an hour, that's hard to live with. You might have to flee. Thanks, Obama. Ambo Life says, I didn't think Obama was that great. I didn't either. But I had high hopes for the guy to begin with, but I just never bought into his hype. But I did switch and vote for him right at the last minute because I couldn't stand Mitt Romney. I still can't stand Mitt Romney. He's a traitor. The dude is like a traitor. Can't stand Mitt Romney. He's the old GOP. Joe Eldorado, what's going on, brother? Hey, Joe, I just wanted to throw out there, and anybody else that's a libertarian or kind of thinks like I do, there's a guy, oh my God, I can't think of his name, Kevin Smith. He's a comedian. He's a comic. He was just on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he's a libertarian. I'm kind of like, he goes, I hate them all. He goes, you guys think I'm a big Trump supporter? I hate them all. But he's a libertarian, and he's been, because I'm very anti-war. Unless somebody is really fucking with us, I don't want to go bomb them. I don't want to send our troops over there to go bomb them, or I don't want to invade their country. You know what I'm saying? Like this business that's going on with China right now, that's getting kind of iffy. You know what I mean? When they keep pushing and keep bullying, trying to bully us, that might change my mind. You know what I mean? But if somebody's going on the offense against us, yeah. But for us just to run over there and try to save Kuwait from Saddam and all of these wars that we get ourselves into, like George Bush Sr., people don't even know this. George Bush Sr. was the head of the CIA. It doesn't get any crookeder than that. George Bush Sr. was a GOP neocon warmonger, and his son's just like him. But he was head of the CIA, which that means you're just as dirty as it gets if you're head of the CIA. And we went into Panama. God, what year was it? 89? Somebody help me out. We went into Panama to get Emmanuel Noriega, who was he was this big cocaine drug kingpin. So we sent our entire military, we sent an entire battalion of our military, and there's an estimate that we killed 22,000 civilians and leveled like a 6-block radius in this city where supposedly Noriega was hiding. But we killed all of these civilians with this heavy military artillery and presence to go in and get one man. That doesn't make any sense. But then if you look at right after that, we did the Iraq War. So it was almost like it was a preemptive, hey, let's, we need to test our military might. How will we do that? Well, let's go get Manuel Noriega. Let's demonize him in the media to the public, where the public is outraged. And then supposedly they killed like 3 Marines or 3 military people or 3 American citizens or something in Panama. And then so all of a sudden the American people were all behind the war machine. You know what I mean? Let's go get Manuel Noriega. Let's go take him out. And so, you're USA, and we're bombing these poor civilians into oblivion in Panama just to get one guy, to get one little drug kingpin. Trump was the first president in decades that didn't drag us into an effing war. Absolutely. There's 3 reasons I voted for Trump. Both times. The biggest one is because Ron Paul as well, non-interventionist. They promised us they would not drag us into another war. We've been in war for 20 years. 9/11 was in 2001. We still have troops in Afghanistan. We still have troops in Iraq. And now we have troops, because of Obama, we have troops in Syria. Trump is the first president that hasn't put our troops into some other new country that I know of. I mean, I know there's a thing going on between Saudi Arabia and Yemen, and that's just a slaughter, and we're back in Saudi Arabia, and Yemen is just this little poor third-rate country, you know what I mean? That'd be like Mike Tyson in his prime fighting a junior high boxer, you know what I mean? And Saudi Arabia is just obliterating Yemen, and we're taking Saudi Arabia's side. It's ridiculous. The Bay of Pigs was another shit show. Yes, sir, Random Nomad. So, that's the main reason. Back to the 3 reasons. The number 1 reason I voted for Trump was he's promised he would be a non-interventionist, and he called out George Bush Jr. about the Iraq War. I mean, he basically during the campaign looked at Jeb Bush and said, "Hey, your brother lied us into war." Mic drop. Exactly right. Jeb Bush didn't know what to say. I mean, he didn't know what to do with himself when Trump told him that. And because politicians just don't call people out like that, and Trump did. So that was the number 1 reason. Non-interventionist. He's completely kept his promise. When that stuff happened in Syria, and they said it was chemical weapons that the Assad government was using against his own people, and that Trump needed to go in there, and we needed to go back in there and take care of it, and we needed to bomb the hell out of them. Trump sent like 3 bombs over there that hit like a deserted airport that didn't kill anybody, didn't do anything, just to appease people so they would fuck up about it. So the second one was he said he was going to get rid of the unconstitutional Obamacare mandate, where if you didn't have Obamacare, you didn't pay for Obamacare, the IRS fined you $300 to $600 annually, and they added it to your taxes. Obama hired 16,000 new IRS employees to circumvent that and make it happen. Trump got rid of it. He killed it. In 2019, thank God, February of 2019, got rid of it. It all went away. And the third reason I love Trump is just because he doesn't act like a politician, because he's not a politician. He doesn't have this scripted, cadence that every freaking want to let everybody know that America's a great country and I'm the president of the United States. He doesn't do that bullshit. He just puts it out there like it is. I love that about the guy. And I think a lot of Americans do as well. He speaks off the cuff. He's not all, speaking on a freaking teleprompter, everything he says. When he goes to his rallies, he's speaking to everybody just off the top of his head. He's winging it. No politician in history has done that. Every politician in history, when they're going to go up in front of a crowd, they have to have speech writers write a speech for them, and then they have to have speech write testers to test the speech and play it against the crowd and figure out how it's going to work and make sure he doesn't say anything wrong. Trump doesn't do that. Trump just says it like it is. All right, guys, let's get back in the room here. See what you guys are saying. Joe Eldorado says Trump was the first president. Yeah, okay, I read that. Amber Life says, yeah, the whole thing was a mess. Panama was, Bay of Pigs. Yep. Percentage of your income actually with that one, or the set amount to with the insurance penalty. Yeah, exactly. But I think the maximum was $600. I got fined. I had to pay it. Because I had great insurance through Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And Obama, famous last words, everybody will get to keep your insurance that you already have. That's a guarantee. That's a promise. Nobody's going to lose the health insurance that you already have. Bullshit. Liar. Maury has determined, Obama, that was a lie. And that's why I hate the guy. I literally despise the guy. If I saw somebody set him on fire with lighter fluid and I had a water hose, I wouldn't put him out. I hate the guy. Green Mobster, what's up, buddy? Trump comes back in 2024 and runs for the a third party, completely screws up the two-party elitists. Oh my God, man! Are you the boss? Are you Gig Boss, Green Mobster? You look like Gig Boss, my buddy Gig Boss that used to be in charge of all the. He used to be in charge of all of the bookings and the promotion for. God, what club was it? There's two of them. There was one in Hollywood. They moved it. Anyway, there's one out in Anaheim. God, what's it called? Can't think of the name of it. Randy P, Facebook. Okay. What's up, Randy? God, what's the name of that club? Can't think of the name of it. It's really popular here, and they're everywhere. Yeah, that would actually be, that would be the best, Green Mobster or Randy P. That would actually be the best, is even if if he doesn't prevail, but comes back and runs again. That's the other thing that liberals don't understand. Trump will be eligible to run again in 2024, and he'll be the same age as Biden is now. He's younger than Biden by about 3 or 4 years. So in 4 years, he'll be like Biden's age that Biden is right now. So I have a feeling that if he does not prevail, he's going to turn right around and start his campaign immediately. And us maggots, we are going to be pushing, and we're going to be dragging Biden every time Biden stumbles. Whatever Biden does, we're going to be dragging Facebook, we're going to be dragging Twitter, we're going to be dragging YouTube, we're going to be dragging all of CNN, we're going to be dragging all of them, because that it would actually be better if you actually looked at it in reality. It could flip either way, but probably it would be better if Trump actually didn't win in 2021 and came back in 2024, because that would give us 4 years of being able to really drag the Democrats and what they are, because Biden's already said it's going to be a cold, dark winter because of the coronavirus. It's going to be a cold, dark winter. We're back into, we need to shut everything down. We need to close everything down. So they're going to drive the economy right into the ground. Trump's been rah, doing his best to keep everything going and keep people's hopes alive. Let me tell you something. People's unemployment people have been on an unemployment for like 6 months. Their unemployment is now running out. Their rent, they've been able to circumvent their rent and not pay their rent, but those stipulations that let them stay in their apartments when they had no job to pay their rent, they're running out. So I don't know if Trump actually wants to be president right now, when everything that's going to be coming up probably in February of March or next year, when the shit really hits the fan. It's going to get crazy, especially if we go back into a cold, dark winter with Biden. I mean, the only thing that we can do right now to save everything is we need to get up and everybody needs to go back to work and we need to get things going again. You know, it was a 6-week lockdown. Remember it was a 6-week lockdown for the, you know, so we could flatten the curve. Okay. We're 9, 11 months into it. You know what I'm saying? So, if we didn't flatten the curve, with all that time we spent locked down, because we stayed here in LA, we stayed locked down from March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. And October, things started opening up a little bit. They just let kids go back to school here in Orange County. So everything's been locked down here. Now in Texas, on the other hand, in May, everything started opening it back up in Texas. Texas kept their word and said, you know, we got to lock down and flatten the curve. And in May, they started opening everything back up. Now, granted, there are huge spikes in Texas. I think Texas exploded and are leading right now in coronavirus cases and positive COVID cases. I think Texas is number one. But California is not a very distant number two. And California has been locked down this entire time. Texas should have 20 times more cases than California, because I just went to Texas. I went to Texas and didn't put, when I got off the plane in Texas, I took my mask off, and I was in Texas and New Mexico for 2 weeks, and I didn't put my mask on one time. Since I've been back in California, mask. I can't leave my office without my mask. Because if I decide to go into any place, and you're supposed to wear them in public, you're not just supposed to wear them in places. You're not supposed to just wear a mask going into a public place. You're supposed to wear a mask when you step outside. There's signs, those road signs that blink, and it says Orange County City Ordinance, all masks are mandatory. This is what you people want? You people that are supposed to be anti-fascist, that's as fascist as it gets when the government is dictating to you how many people you can have in your house. You have to wear a mask. You can't leave the house without a mask. That's as fascist as it gets, and that's what you vote for. You guys are the turkeys that voted for Thanksgiving. You guys, the leftists, you are the turkeys that voted for Thanksgiving. You had a president that was not status quo, that was fighting the status quo hand and foot. He was fighting as hard as he could against the establishment. He was not the establishment president. That's why they hated him. That's why the media hates him. That's why everybody hates him. And especially the big government, the big status quo government hates him. That's why you see Republicans flipping and stabbing him in the back now, because they all hate him because he's not part of their little club. Random Nomad says nothing is going to get injected into my arm. Green Mobster says I won't be taking that vaccine either. Lord knows what the long-term effects are going to be. One guy that interviewed said it felt like he was being stabbed by a knife when he got injected. Yeah, I mean, who knows? You know, they're rushing these vaccines through, so who freaking knows, dude? My friend Christy Ott says, I'm not taking the vaccine either. I'm not taking it either. But the problem is, so here's the deal. So this is what some of you guys don't realize. So they are coming up with, I'm hearing this, that they're engineering a card or like an ID. And the ID will tell people if you are vaccinated or if you're not vaccinated. So they don't have to let you into an establishment if you're not vaccinated. Just like the mask. So if you don't take the vaccine, you go up to, Chili's or Olive Garden or something, to get something to eat. And you get there and they have the little scanner and they go, we need to scan your ID. And they scan your ID and they're like, oh no, you guys weren't vaccinated. You can't come in here. So, that's something that we're going to be looking at. But with anything like that, with all of this fascism that's actually going on, which they're accusing us of being the fascists, that's the best one. With all this fascism that's going on, it's going to push us into a civil war. It really is, unfortunately. If things don't calm, wow, what is that country going? What is the country going to become? Yeah, exactly. Now, don't take that as gospel. I just read that's things that they're looking at to make sure people take the vaccine, because they know people are going to refuse this vaccine. So, these people like Bill Gates and stuff that are pushing these vaccines, they want to be able to force you into taking these vaccines. And so they're looking at different ways of forcing you into making sure you take the vaccine. You better believe that. because if they make the vaccine, they want they want to make sure you take it. Random Nomad says they are already doing that somewhere in Africa, and I believe it's sponsored by one of the major credit card companies. Exactly. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. I bet they'll start taking people's kids away if they don't. That too. Yeah. And your kids won't be able to go to school. So, the left is pushing this. They're just pushing and pushing and pushing. And if we get Biden, if we do get Biden, on Inauguration Day, so where was it? Sarajevo? Don't quote me on this. I could be wrong. You need to look it up for yourself, because I talk off my head a lot from just, stuff I have stored in my head that usually I never use, but it's just stuff I've read over the years. I think it was Sarajevo, but don't quote me on that. But let's say it was Sarajevo. So Sarajevo, back in the 90s, I believe, maybe 2000s, there was a couple of other countries, what was it? Or a couple of other states around them. Sarajevo and 2 other states. God, they used to be in the news all the time. So these 3 Muslim, Jew, and different ethnic countries, they had lived together in peace for years. And then within an 8-month time, something happened. I don't remember what happened there, but people were like, you would have like Jewish people trying to go to their market to get stuff, and they were being sniped in the head. And then you'd have Muslim people trying to go to mosque, and they would be sniped in the head. Within this all happened with 8 months. All of these people lived in peace for like centuries. And then all of a sudden they had this falling out in the government. And one government started trying to rule the other one. And then all of a sudden you had snipers killing people in the streets on each side. That's where we're headed. Bosnia is one. Yeah, Bosnia, Sarajevo, Bosnia. And there was one that started with a P, it seems like. Not Palestine, but it was, I can't think of the name of it. But they used to be in the news constantly because people were just trying to go get milk and bread. Old ladies would be trying to go get milk and bread, and somebody would shoot them in the head from a sniper would shoot them in the head from a distance. Random Nomad says, that's why I don't support the Microsoft Bill Gates evil. Exactly. That's why a lot of people don't. Oh, you know what I want to say? Welcome, Random Nomad. We missed you last broadcast, buddy. You and Trav Man. Didn't see either one of you guys. I guess you fell asleep, Random Nomad, didn't catch the last broadcast, but I want to say welcome back, buddy. And really quick, we don't have driving home Lamont in the room today. He's probably working on his truck. He's building out a new truck. And I promoted him last broadcast because he joined us for the broadcast. And I told him I was going to give him a shout out. He's not here this time. So the reason I wanted to give him a shout out, guys, is because he's very close to 1,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel. And if you get 1,000 subscribers, you can apply to YouTube to get your channel monetized, where you can get ads to play on your videos and you'll get paid. So I do want, if you're into the van life thing, if you're into somebody building out a van that they're going to live in and live as a nomad, go check out Lamont Driving Home and give him a follow if you're into the van life. He's a really good guy. The funny thing is I get accused all the time by my leftist black friends about being a racist because I'm a Trump supporter. Lamont's a black guy. He's one of the sweetest guys I know. I love that guy, and I hung out with him at RTR this year, and with Ambo Life, we all hung out together, and he's just a good human being, and I love good people. He's a good person. Detox D said, hell, fell asleep. Oh, he fell asleep. Random Nomad says, I'm a sub of his. Okay, good, guys. But anyway, yeah, we're going to see what happens. But I just think it's, oh my God, he's here. Driving home, Lamont. I'm usually listening because I'm driving. Okay, Lamont, good to see you, buddy. Just gave you a shout out. We're trying to get you to 1,000 subscribers, buddy, so you can get monetized and start making a little money back from these videos you put so much hard work into, hopefully. Random Nomad says, I work 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. 6 days a week and can't fall asleep till like 12 or 1 a.m. on work nights and get up at 6 a.m. Yeah, that's hard on you, man. That's hard on you. I get it. I'll be honest with you guys. I've just been napping. I haven't slept well probably in the last week and a half. Joe P says, Lamont says, right back at you, Rav. Thanks, Lamont. I appreciate it, brother. Joe P said something, but you retracted the message. See how you are. Anyway, guys, we're 52 minutes into this because that we are now doing this for the audio only version of the podcast that you can listen to on if you have the Apple Podcast app, if you have the Google Play app, if you have the Stitcher Radio app, if you have the Podbean app, or if you now have the Spotify app, you can listen to this broadcast. You can listen to the rebroadcast of it on one of your podcast apps if you don't have time to watch the video. You can listen to just the audio version. So we are keeping this very strictly now to right around an hour, just for that reason. And just to let you guys know, I'm pretty heavy on the political stuff. I am going to start toning it down. I was a little angry. I figured that out this morning. I was getting a little angry. I'm going to tone it down because I just put a media kit together yesterday and finished it up this morning. And so I've got a media kit that's going to be going out, and I have like 2 or 3 good sponsors that might possibly sponsor the podcast. And if I could just get 1 or 2 of those sponsors, it could change the whole dynamic of everything. So I have one sponsor in mind. I know they sponsor another podcast that's a political podcast that's a lot like mine. So I'm really hoping that they'll throw a sponsorship in behind us. And if they do, I'm going to make a commercial for them and everything and have a really good official sponsor for the podcast. But we'll see what happens. But I got to be a little bit more PC correct because I don't want to run, I don't want them freaking out, if they decide to watch one of my podcasts and I'm just like railing against, the sponsor I'm looking at, they sponsor a libertarian that thinks a lot like I do. They sponsor a libertarian person that has a podcast that's a lot like mine, but they're based in New York City. So I don't want to get too crazy because I do need some. I really, really, really do need and want some corporate sponsorship money. So Christy, I was hoping to get to Texas deer for Thanksgiving, but it's not looking good. But I am still hoping to get moved out of California and back to back to Texas by somewhere around the first of the year. But I still got to get my other motorhome sold. So that's what I'm working on, is getting my other motorhome sold and then saving up enough money to pack everything up and head south. So keep that room ready for me, Christy. That is actually my plans, but I've got to get this other motorhome sold to be able to finance picking everything up and getting everything moved back to Texas. I've already talked to my brother about it. My brother, I'm going to pay him to drive out here with one of his stock trailers. He's got like he's got a 24-foot stock trailer, and then he's got a 33-foot stock trailer. And I think we could get everything of mine in my truck and then his 34-foot stock trailer and head towards Texas. I am going to miss my little office here, but I'm just so over California. I'm so over this mass Nazi bull BS and ready to get the hell out of here. Random Nomad says, wish I had the funds, I'd buy it. It's for sale, buddy. If you know anybody that's looking for a really nice camper, it's for sale. But I think I'm done with the mobile life for now. A bit harder to do with an animal. Yep, totally understand that, Random Nomad. Absolutely get it. So anyway, we will see. We're going to see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see. So I still have, I think, 2 days that I'm banned on Facebook. I'm still in Facebook jail. So if you've been wondering where I am on Facebook, I'm in Facebook jail. I can't post anything on Facebook or say anything. I can watch Facebook. It says your account is still restricted for 2 days. So I'm still banned on Facebook. And when I get unbanned, I will be just posting stuff there, but I'm not going to be interacting. I'm not going to be interacting too much on Facebook anymore. I'm pretty much done with that. I say that, we'll see. But I am trying to move all of my stuff over to Parler, and actually, because Facebook just, they don't hold any of our same values. I'm starting to look at them like the enemy. It was weird. I was just out getting something to eat, and I'm sitting in this restaurant, and I'm looking around, and I'm thinking, I bet you they're liberals. That guy looks like a conservative. He looks conservative. I'm actually sizing people up now. It's like I'm gonna have to put out a podcast that's labeled "Living with the Enemy," because it's like it's like everybody here is mostly leftist. It feels like. Told my grandma about Parler and a few other people. Joe P, I do have a channel, Traveling with JRP. Well, check out Joe P's channel, everybody. I didn't know Joe. It seems like I remember that. Check out Joe P's channel, guys, Traveling with JRP. Random Nomad says she's a part of MAGA, a big Trump supporter. Cool. Brooklyn, English Bulldog. Good to see you, Eve. Nope, that's what I was just talking about. I have to sell Bertha so I can hit the road back to Texas. But no, I still have Bertha. She's parked right out here. If you know anybody that's looking for a really cool old vintage RV, send them my way. I'll even give you a kickback. I'll give you a couple $100 kickback if you can find a buyer for it. More than likely, I'm going to put it on eBay here in a few days. All right, guys, we're at 58 minutes. Got a couple of minutes left. I want to thank everybody for coming into the room. Christy Otts, Joel P., Joe Eldorado, Brooklyn Eve, English Bulldog, my buddy driving home, Lamont. Check out his YouTube channel, Detox D. Who am I missing? Green Mobsta, Random Nomad. C. Gillian. Hey, I think I missed you, C. Ambo Life. Thank you, guys. Even my Trump haters. I still love you guys, too. Joe Eldorado. I think I said Joe. I think I've thanked everybody. Oh, Matilda. Good to see you, Matilda. Didn't see you pitching in much after, but I've seen you at the beginning of the broadcast. Yeah. Anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me here for another episode of the American Nomad Podcast. Again, if you want to listen to the rebroadcast, you can find it on the audio version in one of the podcast apps, the Apple Podcast app, the Stitcher Radio, or now even Spotify. Joel P says, first time I've been on for a whole live feed. Well, thanks, Joel P. I'm glad you could stick with us, buddy. Everybody be sure to check out Joel P's his YouTube channel. Oh, you just got a drone, Joel P? Oh, good for you, man. That's awesome. I've got a drone. I haven't flown it in months. I got to find it and see if I can charge the batteries up and fly it around and take some video. I haven't used it in so long. I don't even remember where it's at. That's sad, right? I haven't used this before I moved into my office here. Good night, Lamont. Good night, everyone. That's going to be an hour. That's going to do it for this broadcast of the American Nomad. Hope to see you guys here back Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And until then,
Thank you for listening to the American Nomad Podcast. Until next time, keep looking up because that's where it all is.
you guys have a safe and beautiful weekend.